Hello everyone, this is Medibot. Let's play Kirby's Return to Dreamland. Today we're heading back into the true arena, this time playing as Metaknight. Metaknight uses his sword to fight, and in many ways this is similar to Kirby's sword ability. However, there are some important differences. Most things are the same, such as the sword beam attack when you're at full health. It's useful for taking out Blade from across the screen, so he likes to control the area directly in front of him with his blades. Another important difference is that instead of inhaling to fly, Metaknight flaps his wings, like Kirby does when Kirby is using the wing power. There are a few other little differences here and there, such as Metaknight's attack when pressing up, and some of the way his air moves works. Specifically, his ability to perform a combo dive, again powered from the wing power. The charge-up spin attack is useful when you want to deal large amounts of damage on the ground without locking yourself into the combo attack, which also moves you forward slightly, which is not always desirable. The downside of this, of course, is that while the spin move does do a pretty good amount of damage, the sword combo does far more, so you're giving up some damage potential in exchange for safety. Furthermore, Metaknight's upstab is his upwards attack, as opposed to Kirby's rising sword slash, which can combo then into the downward sword slash. The chief downside of this upward stab is its extremely low damage. It is one of, and perhaps even the weakest move in Metaknight's arsenal. However, because I'm so in love with playing as Bandanity, I tend to use the upward stab a lot. This makes some of the fights take a little longer than they need to. Fortunately, we managed to avoid taking damage in the mid-boss fights, which lets us keep using the sword beam in our fight against Goliath. In this, you see that I continue to fail to find a good attack vector other than by being directly below him when he's on the wall. Perhaps it's just due to my cautious playstyle, but I tend not to go for more risky moves that involve dashing unless I know they're safe, even though in this fight and in many others that you'll see, the dashing air attack where Metaknight spins around is usually a fairly safe move and will do much more damage than the upstab. Our basic tactics for Goliath are largely the same as before. However, with my instant full screen projectile, I try to take advantage of that a little bit. Again, I'm relying heavily on the spin as my main source of damage when Goliath moves to the ground. Got a lucky dodge there, as Goliath decided to aim upwards as I stood right in front of him like a fool. But again, out of this fight with no damage to our names. This one could be a little tougher though. It's time for the Grand Doomer. Grand Doomer is another boss that likes to spend a lot of time in the air, but importantly he will move to the ground for some attacks, which you do need to be alert for. That sweep provides a good opportunity for a dash attack, which isn't great damage. What's important to note about Metaknight's spin attack, much like Kirby's sword spin, is that it does make you temporarily invincible, although there is some vulnerable time at the end. This means that if the enemy is going to be moving through you quickly, like in one of those dives, the spin attack becomes a good tactic as it makes you invincible and deals a pretty decent amount of damage. The last hit of the sword spin does the most damage, but the intermediate hits will still do far more damage than, say, an upstab. Get a little greedy charging my sword attack there and lose my full health bonus of the beam attack, then decide to get a little hasty, go for a sword combo and get hit again. See the power of the sword spin as he's diving at me from the background, get him to his second form. He moves quickly there, but with good timing you can get your sword spin off. Now that he's in his second form, he'll be dropping 2 of those large orbs each time. Got some lucky damage on him there with both a sword combo and a spin attack. Don't want to be on the ground when Grand Doomer is charging up his bite attack. Here Grand Doomer is performing his Ice Blast attack, as seen also performed by the Ice Doomer. It's a large area of effect all around him, but it's pretty easy to move away in time. Now we just need to get our last few hits on the Grand Doomer. Continue playing defensively, if Metaknight isn't the toughest character. That time, I performed my spin attack a little too early, and the invincibility ended before I actually came into contact with Grand Doomer. Spinning slash in the air finishes Grand Doomer off. That fight did take a little while, but we're out of it not too much worse for wear. It's on to our second round of mid-bosses. This time starting with Gigant Edge. We're both sword users, so no one has a triangle advantage in this match. Fortunately, Gigant Edge's health is very low, and I can use my air meta chop to take him out quickly. Normally this fight is very difficult if you let any of them really get attacks off, but I managed to take out King Doo pretty quickly. Of course, then I managed to dash attack directly into his body and take a little bit of contact damage there, foolishly. On to Fatty Puffer. Fatty Puffer likes to move towards you in a somewhat erratic way on the ground, making sword combos a poor choice. However, since you can continue to move diagonally during your sword spin, there's a much safer way to get a pretty reasonable amount of ground-to-ground damage in. When Fatty Puffer begins his rolling attack, you'll see that he becomes invincible temporarily. Well-timed dash attack to go through the body and avoid the fishes. And a spin to get him to his second form. Getting a few hits in before he uses his Mega Roll. The property of the Air Chop, where it pushes you up and back after you hit with it, proves invaluable against Fatty Puffer, as it moves you away from his body, but while still letting you set up another attack. One final spin, and we finish the fight against Fatty Puffer. Metal General, however, is a little tougher than Fatty Puffer, so I opt to take the tomato before heading in. Not only does this give me the ability to take a few more hits, it also gets me my sword beam back. Tactical tomato usage, as Metaknight in the True Arena, to get your sword beam attack back for important fights, is an important part of your overall strategy. Here we see that those individual spin hits were hitting for around 100, and the last one was doing somewhere 280, give or take. Saw a 277 and a 281 in there. Didn't manage to destroy any of the rockets before they took off, so we'll have to dodge all three. A smart thing to do here, if you're feeling like getting some extra damage in, would be to again charge up your spin attack and intercept Metal General as he tries to crash into you on his rocket. Fortunately, we have managed to avoid taking damage, which means we do still have our beam and can use it to safely deal damage from full screen and clear out the mines. A dash attack during his electric charge, and we get our last points of damage in to finish the fight. Now it's on to Mr. Duder. I historically have a bad track record against this boss, but let's see if I can manage to break my bad habits and play it a little safer this time around. Getting behind Mr. Duder when he's preparing to do one of his attacks is a good way to get a lot of damage in, as he will not turn around to face you during the attack. So we've gotten him to his second form very quickly. Not going for anything really fancy here during his Mega Smash attack. Just walking back and forth, trying to stay in the middle of the arena. Avoid the fire punch and the grab attacks. Then it's mostly back to business as usual for Mr. Duder. A few more well-placed spin attacks, and we interrupt his snake summoning to finish him off. Next up is a pack of vicious sphere doomers. My spin attack comes too early there, and I take a hit, whereas a later spin attack would have kept me safe and also done a pretty good amount of damage as seen there. Don't go for any hits while he's doing his electric twirl. Again, it's important, if you're like me and you like the spin attack, to take as many opportunities as you can to charge it up and use it. In this fight, like all the fights you have against two bosses at once, the important thing to be doing is to try and finish one or the other off as fast as possible. We've taken out the purple one here. However, I seem to be doing a poor job of paying attention to the sphere doomers when they go into the background, and I've taken quite a bit of damage already in this fight. Spin attack finishes off the fire doomer, and we're on to our last doomer, the ice doomer. Much better timing there to get rid of his projectiles and also get some damage in. There I use another important feature of the spin attack, and that's using it to parry projectiles. Foolishly lock myself into a sword combo, which makes me unable to dodge. I end up taking damage from the AoE in an attempt to stay in what I believe to be a safe spot to avoid the projectiles of the third wave of the Ice Burst. So I'm looking a little worse for wear after that fight. Wispy Woods isn't too hard, but it would be quite a shame if I were to fail at my true arena run due to some foolish mistakes on the tree. So I grabbed the small tomato before heading in. The Air Puff attack gives me plenty of time to get a few spins in and get Wispy Woods to half health. Parry the first apple as it falls, also getting a little bit of damage in on Wispy. Here I go for the dive attack a little too early and end up tapping one of the spikes foolishly, but Wispy Woods has a very small amount of health, and he is soon finished. Next up is Landia. I ponder the merits of taking a tomato, but decide against it. In fact, Metaknight, despite my poor performances against many of the bosses with Metaknight, Medibot is in fact quite well equipped to take out Landia. Not too much damage we can do during the Wind Gust attack. Get a few love taps in here and there. Mostly just stay at the other side of the screen and do our best to avoid the slashes. The Air Chop lets us get some damage in, using the spin to counter-attack the dive. A few more upstabs for good measure, and meet him in the air with some air chops, and we've got him to his second form before he could even use his fire breath attack. Again, taking our ample opportunity to charge up our spin attack, getting 2 spins in addition to some air chops, as he uses his moving electrical attack. Now it's time for the fireball attack to begin. I dodge it there, but as you'll see in a moment, it's also possible to take advantage of the invulnerability time of the spin attack to just continuously deal damage while Landia is batting that fireball around. Next up is the Lure Star Cutter, which is not going to be made any more challenging by the fact that I'm Meta Knight, and I'm very confident in my ability to perform well in this fight, so I do not take any healing items beforehand. As before, you want to always be using your maximum charge shot. Use your dash attack to dodge the first ore, or rather, yeah, the first ore, yes. And by timing our charge attacks so that they come out very quickly, it's possible to get the lure to its second phase very quickly before it uses most of its attacks. Of course, then it'll move into the background and shoot at you for a while you can't do much about it. But turnabout is fair play, I suppose. Lucky dodge there on the red orbs. I dashed when I really didn't need to, or shouldn't have put myself in a situation where I needed to with the blue orbs. Yellow orbs are pretty easy to dodge. Now it's time for the Sail's Wind attack. Although it's possible to deal damage with the backwards attack of the fully charged shot, it doesn't do as much damage as the forward shot, so you want to get back around in front of the lure as quickly as possible. And with that, we're done fighting a boat. Next up is the HRD3, which I'm pretty confident in my ability to defeat. It's not a particularly tricky boss, although he does hit reasonably hard. First phase is all about knowing the spacing of his slam attacks. I spend that round just reminding myself of the spacing. Once you know the spacing well, you can stay very close to his attacks and still get damage in. Additionally, with good timing, you can again use the invulnerability time of the spin attack to allow yourself to even appear to get hit, but then move left or right while spinning, and move out of the hitbox of the drill or the fist. I probably could have safely stayed a little closer and gotten a few more hits in, but with my health the way it is, I don't feel like taking too many chances. HRD3 is largely a battle of patience, as the boss gives you very few opportunities to actually deal damage, the slam attack and, to a lesser extent, the lariat being your only options. Even just a basic slash attack is pretty good at dealing damage to HRD3. However, he retracts his drill and his fist a little too quickly to get a sword combo off, unless your timing and spacing are very good, and I don't feel like taking that chance. There I got the beginning of my sword combo off a little faster and was able to get 3 hits in. The difference in damage is quite noticeable. Had to carefully dash attack out of the way to narrowly avoid the drill after I dash attacked through the fist. That time around I was a little bit closer and went for the spin attack, and it seemed to work pretty well, so let's try that again. With that, our spin attack parries his drill, and we're on to HRD3's second form. You'll remember that the key to defeating HRD3's second form is to stay very close to him, which is fortunate because Meta Knight needs to stay close to enemies in order to deal damage effectively. A few quick spins during his laser attack, and he's already at more or less half health. However, his hitbox is very wide during the slam attack, and I fail to dodge it completely. It's important to notice when he's charging up his lariat, so that you don't get slammed into, as you will likely be very close to his body during that. But a few more spins, and HRD3 is defeated. However, we certainly need to take that tomato into our next fight against the powerful Metaknight. Taking that tomato, of course, got me my beam attack back. Get a little bit of free damage in with it. Metaknight moves very quickly, and so I try not to take any more chances by being close to him than I need to, and that's why the beam attack can be so useful here. Another quick spin, and we've gotten Metaknight to his second form. We'll start off with his lightning attack. A few little upward taps here and there, but it's not too easy to hit with anything else during that. Metaknight finally gets some damage in. I managed to use my invincibility to dodge the first wave of swords, but I move into the second one foolishly. And of course it is not advised at any time to end your spin attack while inside the enemy. By understanding Metaknight's movement carefully, you can carefully position yourself with the spin attack to maximize damage while avoiding being hit. And with that, you manage to finish off Metaknight. Not too bad, still a little bit above half health, but we'll certainly want to grab that small tomato before going in to fight Magolor. Magolor is a boss who likes to spend a lot of the time slightly off the ground, meaning that Meta Knight's powerful ground game is of significantly less use. What this means, in a nutshell, is this fight and the following fight are going to take a while. At a lot of times, the best you can do is the upward stab attack, which, as mentioned before, is Meta Knight's weakest attack. Fortunately, many of Magolor's attacks are fairly easy to dodge when you're as fast as Meta Knight. Magolor begins to summon some sphere doomers at us, but we manage to get him to his second form before he can manage to have them fly out and cause a ruckus. As is his habit, he opens his second form with a portal to the Doom Dimension, but those sorts of tricks won't work on us anymore. There I go for some air chops against him, but managed to get caught by the very edge of his laser beam, which results in a fair bit of damage to poor old Meta Knight. It's mostly just frustration at how slow the fight is going, because I seem to not be able to find vectors to use any attack but my weakest one. Still, he's going to waste time with his needle attack. We can at least get some damage in. Again, sending out sphere doomers. And since he actually stays still in the air for a while we're safe, gives me a good opportunity to use the air chop. We've almost got him finished off. So of course he retreats to the background to attack us with orbs from the safety of the plane in which we cannot harm him. Finish him off right before he gets another round of sphere doomers off. We're ready to begin the last fight. Of course, with this tomato left, I might as well take it. Although it is possible to take the box with you into the fight, I don't like having to manage it during the chaos that can happen during the fight against Magolor Soul, so I just heal up now. It's time for a dramatic and somewhat tedious finale. Again, I'm relying mostly on the upstab to get my damage in, but even with all the attacks I managed to perform, I did a very small percentage of Magolor's health and damage. Magolor's Soul, even more than Magolor, likes to spend time in the background, where no damage can be dealt to him, which further increases the length of this fight when you're doing such little damage. Although during a lot of these times it seems like it should be possible for me to use a more powerful attack that can hit the air, such as my dashing spin or the air chop, the movement of his attacks and his movement can make those attacks much riskier than they seem sometimes. This fight, and the entirety of the True Arena, is largely about playing it safe, or at least it is until you're much more confident in how bosses move. And even when you know how they move, they can still behave erratically, which can make safe-seeming attacks much less safe than they actually are. Here I managed to find an interesting trick, and that's Meta Knight's actually safe in the bottom corner. Finally, Magolor Soul puts himself on the ground, allowing me to use my much more powerful spin attack and get him to his second form, which of course means it's time for some ultra abilities. The Ice Hammer is not too much trouble for Meta Knight to dodge, although the icy terrain afterwards can be a bit annoying. Use my dash attack to become invincible and move through the swords. Here I get a little too fancy, dash attack too early, and take a good solid hit from one of his ultra swords. And before I can even get a hit on him again, he returns to the background and performs the monster flame. Magolor Soul continues to follow the pattern established of teleporting into the foreground to one of 3 locations. The spin attack was a good move there, but my mistake was staying in the corner instead of attempting to move through him and out of harm's way of the flare beam. Inverting the screen is no longer a problem for me, although it does make me play a little bit more defensively, perhaps. But it certainly doesn't make it too much more difficult to dodge that attack of Magolor Soul. Magolor Soul is polite enough to move to the foreground and use an attack which can be safely avoided by standing directly under him. So I get a few more upstabs in. Not much damage, but enough hits will do the job. The laser is not too difficult to dodge, but pay attention to its exact placement, as sometimes it can be high enough up on the screen that it cannot be avoided by staying at the top of the screen. And we're back to the Ice Hammer. Still not much of a problem for Meta Knight, avoiding the shock waves and the icicles. and landing as the spikes have cleared. This time, instead of going into an Ultra Sword, he performs the needle attack with the icy ground. Again, the 6-way orb attack provides a good opportunity to stand directly below Magalo's soul and perform a few attacks. There he used both the 6-way orb and homing orbs in an attempt to confuse and confound Metaknight, but a well-timed upstab parries those, and a spinning air slash finishes Magalo's soul off, completing our run of the true arena. Our time for completion is right around 26.5 minutes. Quite a long amount of time, but we managed to do it. I'll see you all next time.